Hello, everyone. This is Pamela Topchian, your host for Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. And today I have Toby. And if you would please introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you do in the holistic healing space, please.
Of course, so I'm Toby Wade. Originally from London, as you can probably tell with my accent, but currently based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And describing my work has always been a little bit difficult.
Mhm.
My main mission is just to help people reduce their suffering in their life and do whatever I can to help. And I blend a wide range of healing modalities and meditation and just amazing things I've learned from amazing teachers. And I think the best way to describe it will probably be as the podcast progresses and we give people a taste and more of a flavor for what
Yeah.
work I do.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us from so far away. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. I was
Really?
recently on an amazing meditation retreat. It was online, and we
Oh,
had people from Lebanon and people from Israel on the same
wow.
meditation retreat. And this unity really brings something special to the retreat.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. And being online, that really integrates everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that brings me to one of my questions is when you work with clients, is it mostly online or is it in person, in groups? How do you work with people?
Yeah, so mostly just online, mostly
Mm.
on Zoom. I
Oh,
think I can actually go into a recent story
sure.
um, about my life that will probably give a bit of a flavor of what I do. So
Okay.
I'm lucky enough to not have m many health problems in my life, nothing too serious. And then it was in September, October, so maybe 6, 7 months ago, maybe more.
Hmm.
Um, I had a bit of a crazy weekend. I went to a crazy Argentinian football game. I celebrated my friend's birthday, and I moved apartment. And then on the Monday, I woke up and I basically couldn't move.
Oh no.
I had a super sore throat, my lymph nodes were swollen, I had fatigue and body aches, and this lasted for around 3 weeks until I eventually went to the hospital, got some medicine and got better. And then a couple of weeks later, it came back.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? It stayed for a couple more weeks. And then I seemed to have a good 10 days or so. Then it came back for a week. Then it was on, then
Oh.
it was off, then it was on, then it was off. Until around March, until my birthday. And one of my friends suggested like just changing my diet because we've seen people online have success with that.
Hmm.
So I really stripped back my diet. I did a little bit more movement. I kind of pushed myself to get some more sunlight,
Yeah.
and then I felt better, and the symptoms disappeared.
Yeah. Nice.
And I was like, how interesting. And that lasted for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
Mm.
until one day I woke up and it was back. And I had this fatigue and I had this body ache, and it was a struggle to turn off the tap to wash my hands,
Oh
and it was
gosh.
difficult. And I'm grateful for the experiences. It taught me so much about compassion and what people with fatigue really go through, and like autoimmune diseases and all of this.
Right.
And a quote or a saying from one of an amazing teacher named Paul Chek. He's a bit crazy, but he's really good at what he does. And he says, you can have a problem with your body, maybe it's in your kidney or your liver, and it can be caused by an unconscious belief you picked up when you were 7 years old.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing it, and it's just so crazy. So I was lying in bed and I started to do some therapy on myself. And I was thinking, so where do I feel this fatigue in my body? I feel it really in my hips. Oh, and it
Mm.
feels like a rusty factory. So I started doing some symbolic and some sensorial modalities. And it started moving, it started changing. And I imagined the factory being cleaned.
Nice.
And then my hips started feeling better. And then I had some more energy in my body, but it still felt cut off from my head. I
Mm.
was like, okay, what's going on, head? What's going on, body? And my head was like, oh, we can't trust the body. And then a memory came up from when I was maybe 13 years old in school. I won't go into the details, but it seemed very connected.
Wow.
So I went back and kind of worked on that, changed the belief, held it in love. And I felt a little bit more integration. And then I started bringing the energy up from my body into my head and my head down into the body. And there's more body head integration. And there was a few other things with some therapeutic modalities from a guy called Fritz Perls, who's amazing, a Gestalt therapist, and Carl Rogers. They're both old school psychotherapists from the
Mhm.
1960s. But by the end of the little mini session I did, the fatigue was gone. And I was
Nice.
like, how does that work? And then one more part of the story is actually on Sunday. I wanted a little celebration. I had a nice week. So I bought a chocolate bar and it was 45 grams. I was like, oh, how bad can it be? And then on Monday, I woke up and the fatigue was back for around 6 to 8 hours.
Oh no. Yeah. So
I'm
that
feeling
must
good
have
again
been
today.
regular like milk chocolate, not like a dark chocolate.
Yeah,
Or yeah.
so this taught me I don't know much about how the human body works. Because
Mm,
first it was I had doctors in Brazil and Argentina and the United Kingdom telling me it was my tonsils.
hmm.
And then I cut out most things out my diet and I got better. And then doing therapy also seemed to solve it. Um, so I think it's almost an interesting story, especially on a podcast with holistic health.
Yeah.
It's still a
Yeah.
path I'm walking, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah. A lot of people who have been through things that have had a hard time figuring out what was going on, and then they try all these different things, or they go through some healing that was completely unexpected or they didn't know about. Or, as you said, you did your own sort of healing energy work and that on yourself. A lot of people come to then help others because they've been through that and they know so many other people are suffering, especially like the autoimmune diseases. People just so often are just feel hopeless and helpless because especially in the Western, doctors are going through all these different doctors and treatments and tests and they just get run down. So, yeah. So, how did you or when did you start working with other people?
Yeah, so I actually studied finance at university. I had dreams of being an investment banker in London, um, until I was doing an internship and I was at a kind of a drinks event after work. And somebody looked at me and they looked me dead in the eyes, deadpan. They said, everybody here who's over 30 years old is either depressed or divorced.
Ooh,
And I was like, ooh, okay. Because they're working 100-hour weeks. They're
yeah.
getting paid a fair amount, but they're working hard. They sacrifice their lives and they get trapped. Everybody says they'll leave. I think the saying is, I'll leave after my next bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can't do this. And my friend was working with an amazing coach, um, but he was running an online business, but he couldn't even send an email.
Mm,
So I ended up working for him for 3 years as like an operations manager,
yeah.
as we'd work with clients in person and on Zoom, meditation, shadow work, healing, all this stuff. And
Yeah.
after 3 years with him, I learned lots of what he does. For me, he's one of the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I would shout him out, but he's got no social media, no online
So
presence,
nobody would
and a
find
massive
him
waiting
anyway.
list.
Yeah.
So there's no point.
He doesn't need a shout out. Yeah.
So yeah, I learned a lot from him, and then I started working with people slowly and surely, and now I'm running my own thing.
Nice. Nice. And if you don't mind, may I ask how old you are?
Yeah, so I'm 24 years old.
24. Amazing. And how great for that person coming up to you and saying, you know what? Everybody in here is either divorced
Yeah,
or depressed or both, probably. Yeah.
yeah, it was a gift in hindsight.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And really that was really nice of him to not want you to have that same fate, to go
Yeah,
through that. Yeah, at such a young age. Wow. Yeah.
yeah, it is really interesting. Like a lot
Yeah.
of like the smartest young people, they end up in like banking or they end up in consulting or
Mm-hmm.
one of these high-paying jobs where I guess it doesn't seem so aligned for maybe the greater good of humanity and
Right.
everybody. It seems, yeah, it's an interesting path to take.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to make a decision on where your values are when you're deciding. So your Instagram, you say that you help people find clarity, relief, and real solutions.
Of course, yeah. So my Instagram is actually a waking dream underscore.
We'll put that in the description below and in the show notes. So yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay, go
you.
ahead.
Yes, it's almost like whatever problem people are facing, whatever's causing them suffering, whatever their mind is stuck on at the moment, that's what we can dive into. So in the last week or so, I've had calls with people, let me think, somebody with relationship issues. They're wondering, is there really somebody out there for me? Is it worth putting in
Mm,
the effort? And it
Mm,
ended up being linked to some unprocessed grief from their last relationship and
sure.
some things like this. Or I had somebody who was dealing with addiction and they were trying to figure out how do I break this addiction.
Yeah.
And that one ended up linking back to feeling like a burden when he was a
Mm,
younger child and not giving space to these feelings that were being suppressed and
yeah.
therefore causing the addiction. Or even, I had another great call last week with a lady struggling with her identity as an immigrant, feeling
Yeah.
different and feeling not good enough and feeling not
Mm,
worthy. So
yeah.
just helping people move through these problems. I don't really have a specific, I help like plumbers become more
Right.
confident or anything like this, but
Yeah. Just in
I let
general.
people choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything and anything.
Yeah, and since you're digging deep and you're finding out where the root is, another thing that I read, it must have been on your Instagram, you said you help people find real permanent transformation, not just temporary relief. And, I like to use the analogy of like a dandelion, where you could pick the dandelion out of your lawn, but the root is still there and it's going to come back. But you have to get down to that root to really have permanent transformation, like you say. So yeah, that's great. And so you do coaching. Are you doing like hypnotherapy or like guided meditation type of work? And then
Yeah, I
shamanic work as well. And yeah.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, hypnotherapy, I don't like, how would you call it, hang yo-yos in front of people's
Right.
eyes or snap my fingers, but there's a way to talk to people and to ask questions that allows for a hypnotic state to arise,
Yeah.
and that allows people deeper access to their subconscious.
Yeah.
And from there, we can do real work because the conscious mind gets paused for a second and we can see what's really going on.
Yeah.
And then, of course, guided meditations are super powerful too. And oh, shamanic healing. Yes. So I don't use plant medicines. I think they probably have some value. I haven't personally dived deep into myself, but from some of my mentors, they seem like a very volatile path,
Hmm.
a very risky path.
Yeah.
And all of these emotions and this discovery, this exploration can be done without them.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like throwing like a bomb into the mix, which is a little bit unnecessary. And it
Yeah.
might explode everything for the best, or it might explode everything for the worst.
Yeah. You take a gentler approach.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I find when I say shamanic, I talk about really attuning to the other person,
Mhm.
really feeling into what they're going through and really mirroring their consciousness to get a deeper understanding and to dive deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds amazing. So I know you're not going to have an answer to this, but I know others are probably thinking this. How did you get so wise at such a young age?
That's very generous of you. I think I got very lucky finding my teachers,
Yeah.
especially my teacher who I was working with, um, who I said I wouldn't shout out. His name is Pierre, um, but he's crazy. He's been studying this stuff. He studies 12 to 16 hours a day. He
Hmm.
just cares about understanding the mind and understanding reality,
Yeah.
and he's 20 years in at this point. So lots of credit goes to him and just my amazing teachers that shared their
Yeah.
teachings with me.
Yeah, but you know what they say that, the teacher will arrive when the student is ready. So if you weren't ready to absorb that information and to really learn from them, you wouldn't have. So, still at this young age, you were able to take it in and then you're projecting that out into the world to help others. So that's amazing. And, thank you for all you're doing in the world. What has surprised you most? Has anything surprised you in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think if I look back to where I started, there's almost a sense of people don't know how good it can get.
Right.
That whether it's through, so one of my teachers has an amazing quote. He says, "It's never too late to have an amazing childhood,"
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
which is a lovely saying. So whether it's with the healing work, you can really go back into the past, understand what happened, heal the things, heal the memories, and fill them with love. So
Yeah.
I had a very strong memory, we can say, of
Mm-hmm.
my parents arguing when I was younger. And I used to kind of, I used to feel bad when I would think about it. And it
Sure.
would cause all these symptoms in my day-to-day life, whether it was like not feeling good enough or insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I went back to this memory. I looked back at it with fresh, wise eyes. I
Mm-hmm.
held that version of me in love and I slowly walked it through this process. And now I don't see two parents arguing. I see
Yeah.
two parents fighting to co-parent me. And
Yeah.
I just feel love. And I went through this process and now these other feelings of like unworthiness or whatever they were don't arise. Like, of course I'm worthy. Like I'm a human being. We're all worthy.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's the first part with the healing. People don't realize just how far you can go.
Right. How powerful it can be and how deep it can go. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also with the meditation,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole lot of meditation teachers and meditation processes out there.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the best and most effective teachings are a world away from maybe the popular or the least effective teachings.
Yeah.
There's an amazing system I learned from a Buddhist nun. She's sadly passed away now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the story was that her teacher, he was a monk for maybe 30, 40 years in Burma. And he was like, this is good, but I feel like it could be better. So everybody was reading from the Visuddhimagga, which is almost like the Bible of meditation in Theravada Buddhism. But he was like, no, I'm going to go back 200 years further to the Majjhima Nikaya and see the Buddha's original words. Because
Wow.
the Visuddhimagga was actually written by a Hindu.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's a problem, of course, but it was a slightly different interpretation.
Right. Right.
So he built his own meditation system that's now pretty famous. It actually popularized the jhanas, which are now a bit of a talking point in some online communities.
Mm.
And with this meditation, it's based in love and relaxation.
Yeah.
So you just start by imagining maybe a baby or a kitten or a little puppy, and you feel the love. And eventually the love fills your whole body, the love fills the whole room, and it fills the whole universe, and you just become love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
That's
so now you can
beautiful.
just feel love and peace and joy on command. And it's like, if there's a piece of chocolate cake in front of me, I can eat it, but I already feel love and joy, and I don't need it anymore.
Mm.
And if I do eat it, I can enjoy it and savor it even more,
Mm-hmm.
or I can leave it and still be happy.
Yeah.
So it gives you this real flexibility and just this love and contentment and peace. Um, and then also you can kind of integrate Tibetan Buddhism with this and Advaita Vedanta and other spiritual traditions and really have a full holistic awakening.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a story for another day.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So I imagine that, you mentioned the chocolate cake, but that could be something that works well with people with addiction of any kind, really, to be filled with love and to be able to have this, that you're not seeking or craving for something else, mixed in with or along with where that started. You've talked about going deep within to find that root, to find out where things had started. But that, and then as well as moving forward, filling themselves up with love, and then recognizing, I fully believe that the universal energy is universal love. It's all around us. It's not that we're a part of it, we are it, as well as everything and everybody and else. Yeah. Yeah, and I do imagine how much that could help people who never felt that or are lacking that, and how many issues that would cause within their body and within their mind. Yeah, and their heart and their soul. Yeah.
Exactly,
Amazing.
yeah. With addiction, there's a lot of things you can do. One of them is find the thing that you're seeking, maybe like a bit of joy from a cigarette.
Yeah.
And you just learn to create it internally.
Yeah.
And now you don't need it externally.
Yeah.
But also, maybe you're pushing away some feeling of shame. And for
Mm,
that, you need to go back into the past. But
right.
then when you combine these two things, you have a much more effective path to healing.
Yeah.
And you were totally right about the thing with love as well.
Hmm.
Because if you go back into the past and you love your inner child can really truly feel that. And
Yeah.
you can feel it today in your body as well. So these modalities, these methods are just so powerful.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. So, is there anything that you would like your clients or people that reach out to you that want to work with you? Is there anything that you would like them to know before they reach out to you or in preparation for working with you or anything?
Most things we can handle on the call, but
Yeah.
One thing I see quite commonly is people have these beliefs that I have these blocks, I am stuck, it's because of this or it's because of that. It's like, oh, I can't do this because of what happened with my mum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, maybe that is the case, but also maybe that isn't the case.
Yeah.
Maybe it could just, maybe the breakthrough is 5 minutes away. Maybe it's just around the corner. Maybe you just need to feel some love, or maybe you just need to see a new perspective. Like anything and everything's possible. So just maintaining this open mind and I guess a sense of hope and optimism
Yeah.
and belief, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, that belief that you can heal or that you can feel better. Yeah, I think you're right that a lot of people have that belief that I can't because of this. And, it's that really is a block in itself, not necessarily what it is that they're thinking is the block, but that they have that disbelief. Yeah. Yeah. I know that didn't come out right, but I know you know what I mean.
I
So,
understand, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. Um, so the best place to reach you is your Instagram. You don't have a website or anything. So if you can talk about how people can reach you and where they can reach you.
Yeah, of course. So I keep everything simple for now. I just have a little Instagram page. This acts as my website and my main hub for everything.
Okay.
I've got a few testimonials there, so
Mm-hmm.
people maybe trust me more than a regular randomer off the internet. A
Yeah.
couple of videos of me speaking. And yeah, I'd like to offer like a free coaching call for any listeners to this podcast. Just
Awesome.
60 minutes of working on whatever's coming up for you, whatever's most alive, whatever's been bothering you. We can just delve into it gently for 60 minutes and see what happens. So
Nice.
you can
Well,
just
thank
DM me
you.
on Instagram with, I guess, the name of the podcast, or DM me, DM me Pamela. I can
Yeah.
sound like I can do the marketing thing. Um,
Okay. Yeah, just mention me and you get a free coaching from Toby. So awesome. Thank you so much for that offer. That's really generous of you. I really appreciate it. And I know that my listeners and the viewers will appreciate it too. So thank you. Was there anything else that you would like to share or make sure that people know before we end this today?
I would just say if you're going through a hard time, a difficult time, just stick with it. Better times are coming. There's a Buddhist teaching of impermanence, which is a shame because all good things are impermanent.
Yeah.
Like the lovely, I don't know if it's a lovely relationship or a lovely glass of water or a lovely day, but the good side of it is that all bad things are impermanent too. The sadness, the shame, the frustration, the lack of hope, they are truly impermanent too. So just stick with it. These things will pass, and the teachings are out there to really grow and flourish and heal and to live a beautiful life. So if you can stay committed to the path and just keep looking up, then good things will come for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Great message. Great message. Thank you so much once again, Toby. I know that my listeners have learned, and I hope that some of them will reach out to you and take you up on that offer. So thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.